illumination is a common motif in yoga practice and spiritual life and religious traditions around the globe. And I mean, to the point of almost being cliche. Like I could imagine a few memes in my mind right now that involve cats and, something about the forest and something about the light and whittle that together with a few words and you got a clever jab on the illumination front. That's possible. Um, though I invite us to consider that there's probably a more fundamental reason why illumination is such a powerful, if not iconic, emblem or reference point in spiritual growth and development. And the most basic explanation for that is simply that it's real. Simply that it's real. Right? There's the out of the box given orientation of your five senses. They're calibrated a certain way. They're designed a particular way. They pick up on certain frequencies. There's a lot they don't pick up on. When we see less than one half of 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. The other night over lunch, Georgia was sharing with me that we have like three kinds of cone pickup things in the backs of our eye, or brain or wherever the sight thing happens, and shrimp have 16. Get your head around that. 16. And then I proposed giving shrimp acid to see what that might be like. So there's a certain limitation to how we perceive very limited uh, equipment on the light front. What the tradition says and what we can lean into and what we can explore is a grade of illumination that's available through the medium of awareness or consciousness. Right? It's not that we're not talking about the light that comes through the gateway of our senses and in particular our eyes. We're talking about a grade of illumination that's accessed through purely awareness itself. Now that may sound a little abstract, and I have a very concrete example for you. It's called dreaming. At night when you dream, the five senses completely check out, as does your identification with your material body, completely gone, not on the horizon, unless you're lucid dreaming. And lo and behold, within that interior space, there is illumination. There is a light there that, weaves its enchantment, tells its stories, and maybe it's baffling, or maybe it's angelic, or maybe it's not so awesome kind of dream. But nonetheless, there is a kind of light of understanding going on within. And this illumination can be cultivated in other ways. The same, say, medium can be is applied in other yogic techniques and methodologies. For and foremost example would be meditative kriyas. Very basic one, meditate on the light at the heart center. Okay. And I know in my own experience, when I first heard that, it was just, well, welcome to pitch black night. Like there's no sensitivity there. And yogic kriyas are somewhat unique. I don't know about unique, but specialized really in orienting towards a higher virtue or principle or insight handed to us by the great rishis of before, and then builds a ladder of or an inroad into coming to recognize that higher ideal of virtue or illumination, and which is not the same as something like mindfulness, where we start with kind of raw basic sensations, awareness of the breath, stuff that's immediately, viscerally, tangibly um, recognizable, right? And this is a bit of there's a component of faith in the process of scratching away at some higher ideal and principle. And illumination or light is often is one such way that we cultivate that until we come into something more of an organic realization. In Bhagavad Gita, in the climactic 11th chapter, the narrator, Sanjaya, who kind of steps out of the scene at this point. So there's this cruxed exchange going on between Krishna and Arjuna. And Sanjay, and then they pull back and you hear the third party narrator, give the account. And he says, if 1,000 suns were to blaze in the noonday sky, such brilliance would be like the brilliance of that mighty self, right? The eternal, our kind of inborn, ultimate nature is like that of 1,000 suns blazing in the sky, right? And we'll scratch our way in bit by bit. And this is where methodology becomes um, of particular importance, right? Like there's grades of methods that will give you um, more readily access. I was kind of stumbling for the words, but make that more readily accessible than others, and we'll lean into the that this morning in our practice.